Oh shit. Oh, okay. I don't think they could hear anything we were doing. Let me. Okay. I think they can hear me now, and I think they can hear you now too. Real
Okay.
horror, we're back. It's so nice to be back.
Yay! It hasn't been that long. It's only been
A couple years.
2 years.
2 years.
But
Cheers. I'll drink to that.
woohoo! Tea. We're both sick.
Are you drinking tea as well?
Yes.
Nice. Yes, that's true. We're both sick. It is a sick stream for us today. As we're here to oh, but I have a negative COVID test, so don't worry, guys.
Samesies.
Hell yeah.
Because I've been working. So, yeah.
Oh,
Just that winter crud, man. Everybody gets, I guess.
we've
So,
got the crud.
but I will cop to some of that anxiety about the big O. Let's not go with that. Let's not call it that.
Where'd you hear that? What boomer
I
fucking called it that in front of you, Hannah?
I'm ashamed to say that was all me.
I
I
love
am
it.
I'm aging as we speak. Just
That's awesome. Well,
yeah.
um, let's show everyone our like wonderful Christmas get-ups because we talked about this before we went live, but I think
Oh
we
yeah.
gotta acknowledge this is my Santa hat scarf. It's got jingle bells in the bottom and it is a scarf that is literally and it's just put a hair onto my head. Yeah, I don't know why or what, but I love it.
I like it.
It's a Dollar Tree specialty.
I'm wearing a Christmas Finnegan shirt, as you can all see. I got it at Walmart. Bought a
Adorable.
bunch of them. Yep. I also have tinsel tied into my hair, but I don't know if anybody can see that.
Wow, I didn't even notice until you brought that
Yeah.
up.
That's
That's
that fairy
awesome.
hair thing that I texted you and Chrissy about like a week and a half ago that nobody knows about.
You went
But
to a
yeah.
fairy hair child's birthday.
Yep. Fairy hair party. It was
That's
the
so
whole
sweet.
thing. Hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, wow, we have four concurrent viewers. Thank you guys for being here for the stream. Just so everyone knows, anytime I look up, I'm looking at the stream stuff and like where the chat will be and all those things. So I'm not just like getting distracted and looking. Oh my God, wait, did you see that?
Pondering the orb.
I am. I'm pondering the orbs. Did you see that TikTok that's like, I was making a TikTok and my ADHD hit, and it's this guy and he's like lip syncing a song, and then suddenly he just looks off in the distance and he like starts like pretending like a fucking cat playing with something off screen. Have you seen that?
No, but
Oh, you're gonna hate it. I'm gonna send it to you later. Remind me. It's so fucking
okay.
bad.
Yeah, my new like big pet peeve is annoying ADHD observations by people about like like you saw that thing about binge drinking. Just like
Yeah, really.
everything I do is ADHD. Like, okay, cool, whatever.
That was
I love peanut butter sandwiches. That's my ADHD.
God. Yeah, I was like, that's not my experience, but I don't want to invalidate anyone else. But also, it's like
Sure.
the everything that literally everyone experiences with drinking or anything. They're like, oh, that's ADHD.
Yeah.
Oh well, I didn't know
I
that.
also think it was supposed to be a cycle, but it was missing the bottom arrow, so it never started over again. It just ended at like never drinking again. Ah,
Perfect.
character arc.
Cured.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh Lord. Well,
Oh, you know who shouldn't drink again?
who is it?
Barb.
Barb.
Bob.
Barbara.
I guess the British girl saying Barb. I'm like, who the fuck is Bob?
Yes.
We watched Black Christmas, y'all, which you of course know since you showed up here. Spoiler alert for a 40-something-year-old movie. Just so
Yeah, we're gonna
some-
talk about what happens in 1974
someone will kick off
Black
about it
Christmas.
otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. This is a spoiler-free discussion. No, that's not true.
No.
Yes, Black Christmas. This was my first time watching it. What was so funny is when I tweeted telling people to watch the movie and then come hang out in the stream, someone commented and they're like, "You're giving us live stream homework." And I was
Ha!
like, "Yes, go do your homework." So, if anyone is watching, hopefully you've done your homework and you're here to talk about Black Christmas.
And like even if you didn't watch, you'll get a pretty good idea of what happened just because we'll talk about it. So
That's very true. So, initial thoughts and feelings. Well, first of all, Hannah, you have seen this movie prior to our watch for this?
Yes. Only once though, so I kind of just knew like the very basic, well, it is a basic storyline anyway, but I knew what happened. I didn't remember a lot of like the details because I watched it in college. So it was good to watch it again. It's one of those like cult classic, if I'm using that phrase correctly, for the
Totally.
horror genre. So it's kind of talked about as being like one of the first slashers, arguably. So
Yeah,
it's
that's
one
what
of
I
those
saw.
movies that you got to see.
Truly, and I never knew that. I mean, I had always heard of it in that regard, but I didn't know really anything about it until this most recent watch, and then just looking stuff up so that I would know what, know stuff
Yeah.
about what we were talking about here. And yeah, I saw that it inspired Halloween, which is kind of what I thought to be the like original slasher. So I didn't know this is like the original.
Right.
This inspired
And
the original.
we kind of talked about this before we went live, where when I was rewatching it, had to keep stopping myself from being like, oh, that's from this or that's from that. Like, that's hacky. Because this was the blueprint. The things that I am referencing in my head have come like quite a while after this. But, it's not, you got to remember what came first so it doesn't seem stale. But, there are a lot of like, oh, very typical slasher moments because it was the blueprint for that genre in a lot of ways.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I kind of was swinging back and forth during the movie of like, oh, I really am into this, and oh, this is super cheesy. Either way, I
Right.
really enjoyed it, even whenever I wasn't like, this is amazing, I still had a fun time watching it. But there are parts where I was like, that's like a really well done shot. Like they'd have like a beautiful shot with they had, I think, at least 2 split diopter shots that I clocked, which is pretty impressive for like a horror film, because those are very expensive lens.
Okay, so for us non-film school people,
So that's
explain.
like when you're watching a movie and you see a shot where like there's someone pretty close to the camera with someone like pretty far in the background, but they're both in focus, but between them is out of focus. That's because the lens is 2 different focal lengths of a lens. So like half of the lens is this length and half the lens is that length. So you have 2 different subjects that are in focus, but like the rest of it isn't. And so
That's cool.
yeah, and it looked really nice.
So,
And when I saw it, I was like, fucking split diopter. And they did it twice. So I was like, wow, those are expensive shots to get. And like they had like nice movement and like really dramatic and beautiful lighting at times. But then there would also be like just the worst fucking thing I've ever seen. Like,
I felt like it was really dark a lot of the time.
yeah, definitely.
And
Very
I feel
grainy.
the same way every time I watch The Exorcist. I'm like, are there no lights in the 70s? No one has any lights.
Yeah.
Oh, Riley in the chat. I forgot that this was the movie where it was like the call is coming from inside the house. Like when they said the
Truly.
line, I like wanted to point at the screen and be like, they said it. They said the thing that they say in all of the, like references that they make in everything ever.
Yes. Sorry,
my
I'm just like
gosh.
my chat isn't showing up, which is weird.
Oh, that is weird.
Live chat. Okay, now we have chat. Fuck, we've had people in here, and I've been like
Yeah,
not
I'm
knowing
watching.
that. Rip. Okay, well, sorry everyone. Okay, now I have the chat. But yes, whenever at the end when they were like, the call, yeah, he's in there.
Call's coming from inside the house.
Because I was
have to
getting that
say,
vibe like before that, because I didn't know that it was inspired by
Yeah.
the story that inspired When a Stranger Calls and like all the other movies that have had that line. So there was like a real murder that inspired this other story, right?
Right. And I thought it was a totally different murder that inspired this movie. There was this guy named Richard Speck who killed a bunch of nurses who were living in one house.
I know, yeah.
But it wasn't that. This was a Canadian murder, I guess, that inspired this movie. And I'm not really sure of the timelines. But yeah, I thought it was a totally different thing.
Wow.
But,
yeah, I didn't think it was about that other one, but I did. Yeah. That is wild. There's a
kind of
lot
sad
going
that there
on.
are like so many. Oh,
It could be
lots
this
of young
murder.
women got killed. Could be anything, not one specific thing.
And the
But-
fact that you watched this in college, like, was this a fun college movie for you to be watching all these college girls dying?
Oh gosh, I didn't even make the connection because I was not in a sorority, So that was like a totally other. Also, they seemed so old to me, and they still did at the time. Like even they didn't read to me like college kids on screen. It seemed more like. But that always happens. Like actors are always like 10 years older than the people they're playing. So, although Barb did remind me of a couple people I knew in school.
Barb was awesome.
Yeah. And that was the woman who was played by Margot Kidder, I believe.
I don't know any other names.
Well, none of the other actresses, I don't believe, ended up playing any significant roles. But the kind of the sad thing, I guess, is that Margot Kidder went on to have, some significant addiction and mental health struggles that were kind of like, oh, that character, grim foreshadowing.
Ooh,
So,
yikes.
yeah. But nobody could have known that, of course, when they're casted. And she was a funny character. I especially enjoyed the like dial fellatio bit with the stupid cop. Like,
Yeah.
can you
love
spell that for me? And then I was like, no, I don't think I could spell that word if I wanted to.
I couldn't.
So
Yeah, when she was like FLATIO or whatever, I was like, oh, wow.
I believe you, but I don't know.
She's a college girl.
Yep.
I am not.
Riley, Phil's boyfriend was at least 45. I agree. And the concert pianist guy was also like, he didn't strike me as a college student.
No. Yeah, what's weird is that with their hairstyles, they look like 14, but then their faces are like 35.
Oh, yeah.
But Riley watched the OG and the 2006. You did more homework for this live stream than we
I'm
did.
so sorry you watched the 2006 remake. I have heard Bad things.
I haven't seen it. And there's a 2019 one too that also got really bad reviews. I was like, damn, we
Yeah.
should have watched all three and then compared. But
Someday, real horror can have a remake discussion in which I will scream and stomp my feet and gnash my teeth about how it's completely unnecessary and nobody should ever do it. So,
wow, I can't wait
yeah,
to
that's
hear
how.
what your opinions on that are when we have that
Just,
discussion.
just like talking at length really definitively about not liking something. I'm very good at that.
Love
So,
it.
the one thing about watching this again was how little I understand about how phones used to work. Like when
Yeah,
they're doing, I'm
really.
like,
I was
what
like,
does that
the
mean?
amount of effort. How did anyone figure this out? Like, I can barely, putting on this live stream, I feel like I'm hacking into the mainframe. They're like, we're going to have someone down at the station and someone at the phone switching
Yeah.
place.
And
And
the
I'm like,
one
there's a
girl was on the
place.
phone with her mom and then casually was like, operator, I can't hear. And I'm like, was the operator
He
just
just
fucking
listens.
listening at all
Oh
times? It
my
makes
God.
no sense. Like, at least the FBI agents listening to my phone calls think that I don't know that that's happening.
Very true.
So, but yeah, that was so weird. And then the guy in the vast hallway of like phone switchboards and stuff like that. I'm like, what
I'm like, you're
is
like physically
this?
switching lines?
Poke,
Huh?
poke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, I gotta trace it. And he's like
Yeah.
literally tracing the line. And I'm like, is this where this, how does this work?
And like, how long does it take? The guy's on the phone for like a good 3 on-screen minutes, and they're like, "Gosh darn it, you didn't keep him on there
You
long
didn't have
enough."
him. You lost
Yeah,
Billy. Riley, I still don't believe that's how tracking calls works. It looks like connecting strings from tin
it
cans.
it does. It's so
For real.
weird.
It was such a
But
strange.
like, and you could get legitimate crossed wires back in the day. I remember this from a Seinfeld episode where like two numbers would get switched around, and anybody who tried to call them, and it was like literally a crossed wire. Wild.
Oh my
So
God.
it was fun to feel young, having turned 31 and being like, I don't understand this because I was born long after this. So,
Yeah, I was
yeah,
I was like completely lost. And he was like, we have the fucking something with the signal. It's only we've shut down the transmitter for this phone for anywhere else, so it's
yeah.
only gonna get this one line. And I was just like, okay, I know
Or that
nothing about how phones work. Never mind.
you can call your own phone from inside the house. That also, I was like,
Yeah.
how? Because it's the same number. It should be whatever. Get a have to get an old school telecom engineer or something to come and
Yeah.
explain to me how that works.
Well, maybe there's two different phone lines, but they could trace the phone line to the address somehow. I don't
Yeah,
fucking know.
who knows?
At this point,
But
I feel like that information is beyond available because that's so long ago, but we're like
right,
mystified by like how could that
it's magic. Who knows?
truly. I'm actually looking at my notes that I took, and I didn't take very
Oh
good
yeah.
notes. I just kind of put my thoughts down as I was watching, and some of them are just nothing. Like one of my lines is my actual dream home because I love that home where they are. Also just the whole
Oh
vibe,
yeah.
like the whole 70s. Everything was just like that's my shit.
Wood paneling, dark
Yes.
colors, and slightly yellow
carpet.
light on everything. Yeah.
Like the stained glass kind of vibes and stuff. It was really really cozy, but also like
Foreboding.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
very spooky. I loved it.
I did
So,
like the house. That's way nicer than where I lived in college. That's for damn sure.
same.
So,
One of the first things I clocked with this movie, immediately I was like, okay, I don't know if I'm gonna actually be able to handle this because they did this. They have this like long one shot. So it starts with just the outside of the sorority house, and they're playing like the beginning credits, which fucking slaps, and then it goes into this like one shot of like going up to the front door, and then this kind of like voyeuristic like looking in the windows as the people are walking by, and then it like ends on a window, and then it immediately cuts to the same fucking shot but from like the killer's POV, and so it's like real shaky, and he does the same thing, walks up to the front door, walks to the windows. I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna be able to sit through this. But then
Yep.
it got better, but I was like, oof, this is gonna be a rough one.
The killer, some of the moments I was just like getting such terrible secondhand embarrassment with like the chittering, gibbering, like weird.
The
I'm,
voices.
yeah. I'm just like, come on, man. And again, I had to be like, maybe this was novel at the time. Now I think it's hacky and also, a little bit like cool. A mentally ill person.
Right.
That's all
Ooh,
you got.
spooky. Yeah.
Yeah, scary. Um, yeah, was he doing all of the voices, do you think? Or was there like a victim? I guess he was doing all the voices because he was inside the house.
Yeah,
But
I
at
think
first I thought there was a victim present that was like screaming or whatever.
right, same. I think it's supposed to be within the narrative of the film. It's supposed to be him doing all the voices. But when
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at the Wikipedia and they had like a bunch of different people doing his like phone voices,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, because no one person could. Well, there are some very talented voice actors out there. There was just like that old lady voice was so distinct, and then the woman screaming. Do you think he killed the teenage girl, or was that a separate?
Really? Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he did because he was in the house the entire time.
Right. So then it's like, what happened there? And I was so confused at that part. Maybe I wasn't paying total attention. I thought they had found the college chick. I was so confused
Claire,
for a
the one with the
second. Then I
bag.
was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They were talking about that teenage girl because her father sort of comforted the mother of the teen that had gone missing. And I was like, are they divorced and they don't get along that great? Or, but yeah,
Right,
so
yeah. That's true. I thought that I had surely missed something as well because I was like, okay, y'all have lost me somewhere along
right.
here. What's happening? But then it was like, no, this is just a totally different thing. Um, so I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess that if you felt lost by that, then it's probably just we're both not wrong. you know?
Well, yeah. Felt a little disconnected. Ooh, Riley makes an interesting point. If he calls the house every time he kills someone, you could connect it to the first call. So it's possible. But then I'm kind of like, different demographic. What kind of serial killer are you? But I guess he's just killing whoever, you know?
Now wait, I don't think I understand.
So he calls the house every time he kills one of the victims in the movie. So that first call where they're at the party or whatever could have taken place right after he killed the
Oh, the
teenager
teen.
who,
Okay. And then he went to the
yeah,
house right after.
yeah.
That could
Which
be very true.
then implies that all the other creepy calls they've been getting have potentially been
While he's
other
murdering someone.
murders. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah,
Hmm.
that definitely like adds a layer of
That makes it more
spook
fun
to
to
it.
me, I
Yeah,
think,
I like
because
that.
I'm not the biggest fan of slashers. I just don't find them generally unless they're zany. Like if you call Malignant a slasher, I'm into that
Malignant
because it
was
was
very
just like,
fun.
yeah, I think it's just a little too much like I enjoy horror that is like mysterious or the unknown or something strange, whereas like the idea of people killing people is unfortunately just a little too commonplace for me to,
Yeah,
not that
no.
it's not horrifying because it totally is, but it doesn't leave me wondering like, ooh, what's going to happen next? I'm like, a human person is going to kill a human person, probably with a knife at some point soon. There's no tension there.
Yeah,
Um, so
that's
this
true.
was rated R, but I didn't. This was the 70s, so I guess an R in the 70s is like what
Wow.
a hard PG
Yeah,
in
no shit.
2020 times.
I would not have even thought of that. Maybe it's just all the cussing. Like,
Oh,
because there
true.
was like
They
no nudity. There was, I don't remember seeing a drop of blood. Uh,
no
what, so it had to have just been the words.
70s horror movies love to say the C word. Like in The Exorcist, when the girl's possessed, she just says it constantly. And then that first perverted phone call, like, oh, I'm not gonna repeat it. I
Yeah,
don't want
no,
to
it's all
say it.
good. No, we're good.
I don't like that word.
They that first phone call honestly was a little eerie. Like at first it was like, oh, this is
Yeah,
stupid, but then whenever the voices and all the shit, like I was like, oh, this is actually it because
it
they
was super
and
gross.
it goes on for so long. Even before it gets to
Yeah.
like the sexual stuff, I was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Let's wrap it up. And they're still
No.
like talking and going back and forth. And then it gets sexual, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then Barbara, well, it's the 70s. She's like, it's impossible to assault a lady of the night or something like that. And I
Oh
was like,
yeah.
oh,
Yep.
the
Barb, shame
70s.
on you. Yep.
But the movie kind of surprised me with some of its like more progressive seeming like views in a lot of ways.
The virgin, the professional virgin, is the first girl to get murdered. And then
Oh
the
wow.
girl who survives until the very end is the one who's actively seeking an abortion. So it's kind of
That's interesting.
interesting. Of course, I don't really know if that trope was established necessarily at the time, but it certainly was a progressive seeming
Yeah.
move for the film and everything. And the girl getting an abortion was a sympathetic character, like,
Yeah,
you know.
like you vibe with her, and the guy who's
Absolutely.
like the boyfriend, you're like, this is a little much. Like he's
Oh
doesn't,
yeah, when he
you know,
pulled the like
he's like crying and screaming, "Don't kill my baby!" Like,
yeah, and I'm like, come on, dude. The crying and the like, let's get married. You can still achieve your dreams if you're married. Did he
yeah,
fail at that piano thing, like with the
I think so.
conservatory?
He's like bawling in front of them. It seemed like he did fail, and
It
he's like,
was
"I'm
so
quitting because I don't
bad.
want to do this anymore." And
Right.
then
But I'm like, you play bad piano. You
and
do bad piano.
you're bad at it. But I liked how
Yeah.
they had her be like, "Just because you give up on your dreams doesn't mean I want to give up on mine." Like they had some pretty. I think that's another reason why
Yeah.
this movie, even though like it's a slasher and it's a horror and it was like in a lot of ways the blueprint for what came next, it does things so differently because like the characters are interesting. We're following the characters. I really did care about them in a way that
Right.
way more than I do other slashers or horror movies where they're just kind of fodder for Jason or whoever. Like
Right.
these people, I was like, oh, this is a real story. You
And
know?
that's what makes like I feel like horror movies a lot of the time struggle with characterization because and so you either have a movie that drags really badly because they're trying to set up like who they are as people or they blow past it too quickly and then you don't care, but it shows that like a couple careful lines of dialogue can create like a whole person and still you can focus your attention on making the plot and the progression of the like horrific parts of the film move forward. And that I always like horror movies better when the characters feel like a round, actual, fleshed out human being who has something at stake. So yeah, having what was her name? The British girl. I
Jess,
completely Jess. There we go. Yeah,
I
there
liked
was
her a lot.
Jess and Phil and Bob.
So she was British, Bob. I couldn't
Yeah,
tell what her accent was for so long. I was like, I don't know where she's from,
felt like
but I
it
liked
dropped
it.
sometimes,
It almost
but
felt like that like fucking I don't know 30s or 40s like radio. Like, oh darling, you've got to be kidding
yeah.
me. Like
What is that called?
transatlantic.
Mm,
And
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
she would like slip into that, and I'm like, is that what that is? And then it would sound British, and then sometimes it'd be like a little Australian, and I'd be like,
Right.
I don't know where, but that's I think just
I guess if we were like
an
good at
acting
this, we would have
thing.
looked at the actress to figure out like where she's from or whatever. But yeah, I felt like it faded. I just settled on British because
Yeah, I never. I was like, she's from somewhere else probably, but they all are.
yeah.
They're in Canada, so maybe they talk like that there. I don't know.
What happened to the cat?
Truly, that's a good point.
Right? Like, is he okay? I feel bad. I didn't care about like the den mother at all.
You
She
didn't
was
like her?
funny.
She was my
Oh no no no
favorite
no no
character.
no! I
Oh.
liked her. I just knew she was gonna
Oh,
die,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, I was kind of just waiting.
whatever.
Like any scene that was
Yeah.
just her, like finding her alcohol stash, I was like, oh, this
Oh
is
yeah.
it. Here she goes.
B is for booze. And
So
I
much
love that she
effort.
hated the nightgown. Like, I wouldn't wear this even if my liver worked properly or something like that. So funny.
Yes, she was my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah.
Riley says, I swore she was French. Thomas Trans.
No,
She's
not
from all
French. No way.
I
She
don't.
gets around.
Christy,
I really liked
hello.
Phil too.
Phil, which one was that?
She was the sweet kind of like nerdy
Oh, with the curly
one
hair?
who was like, oh, I'm just so tired, and I don't know. I thought she was cute. I
Sympathetic.
just,
Yeah.
like,
I
yeah.
feel that. Tired.
Like I also have a lot of cough syrup in my system and am sleepy, so I feel you, girl.
Truly.
Yeah.
Oh, I even had what is her accent on Jess in my notes. Another one is her. I said Jess Phasmophobia sweater. The sweater that she's wearing over that like yellow collared shirt looks like the hands coming together in Phasmophobia when you die. And I was like, that
Oh
would be some
yeah,
really cool merch. Like
it
doesn't.
would.
It's obviously not exactly that, but like because of that, I was like, ooh, I would like to like low key have like fucking Phasmophobia hand.
More like
Sweater.
brands should have sweaters, not like a sweatshirt, but sweaters as a merch option. I'm sure
knit.
it's more expensive and harder to do, but I still think that I would be all over that.
Oh yeah,
I like a sweater.
that's a good call. I like a
Phil
sweater.
and Barb were deaf girlfriends. I support it. Would have been a way better life partner than Peter. Of course, he died, so it's fine.
Good.
Yeah.
I was glad he
It was
did.
I'm a little like,
Yeah,
so the
what happened there?
implication is that, well, of course, everybody thinks that Peter's the killer, but we've been listening to some guy named Billy the whole time. And of course, at the end of the movie, the killer still exists. And
And he's
so I'm like,
upstairs.
what is the scenario where Peter got killed and ended up with his head just laying serenely in Jess's lap?
Well, maybe
Where
she stabs him and then he falls on her and she just lays down because she just
yeah,
seemed to be
she
like
just,
out of it and he like
yeah,
fell on her. Yeah, it was like post. It
yeah.
was a little much.
What a strange tableau. How did that happen? And then the cops are just like, well, that's done.
All in a day's work, boys. Let's lay her
Let's
in this
leave this
house and not in the
unconscious
hospital.
victim. Yep. Tuck her into bed with that concussion. And I got a tea time in a little while, so I gotta get out of here. Like, that's not how any of that works. They're not taping off the crime scene. They're just like, well, let's put her to bed. Oh, but they did take the dad to the hospital because he got the vapors or whatever. You know, I'm
Yeah.
feeling really stressed out.
Oh my god.
Get this man to a hospital.
And really, leave the girl here in her bed. That was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I'm like, okay. And I love, like you had mentioned, that it's great that they showed how useless the cops were, and not as a joke.
Yes.
They're just like the cops just fucking sucked, and that's normally how it
Yeah.
is. Like they don't fucking do anything. They just write it down.
Yeah,
And
I mean, like, people who grew up at that time knew what was up, you know, coming off the heels of the 60s and all of that. You know, they were righteously skeptical of institutions, and I support that. My parents, right before I, you know, left the nest to go to college or whatever, my mom, like, sat me down and she's like, okay, you're going to college. Here's one of the things. Don't you ever cooperate with the police. You tell them you want to call your mom and you want to call your lawyer.
nice.
Like, okay.
Well,
Yep.
she would know
And now
too.
she's both.
Yeah. There you go.
She wasn't a lawyer at the time. She was doing her law degree concurrently to me getting my bachelor's. So,
Oh wow, sweet.
yeah, it was cute.
Wow.
But,
So
yeah.
she did that a little later, and now she has her own firm.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Sorry
Yeah,
to just derail this and make
She
this
makes
about
me look
Hannah's
bad.
mom.
No, just kidding. If you ever need some legal help in North Carolina, then I can hook you up.
All right, y'all listening. You
But yeah,
write it down.
what was the one stupid cop's name who didn't know what fellatio was, who like
It's like-
fucked up some other thing, and
So it started with a D.
he was like, your one job is to get her to come out of the house. Don't you fuck this up. And then he's like, the killer's in the house.
And then she immediately
Ruined the
goes upstairs, which I thought
Yeah,
I would not be doing.
brave. It's because her girlfriend was up there.
That's
you
true.
know?
Yep, this fan theory is really writing itself.
Yeah. Well,
I loved the Barb's murder.
Nash. Nash was his name.
Oh, Nash.
Thank you, Riley.
Yeah, very true. Barb's murder with the glass unicorn was so cool.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Like that was one of those that the lighting was really nice. Like the pacing was good. Like it was so well done. I was very impressed by that. And then you'd have something else like the sequence of Claire getting murdered was not the best, but it was like one of the most eerie. So Claire's the first girl who gets the
Right.
plastic bag. When
And then
she
the baby
looks
doll.
over, yeah, when she looks over and sees him in her closet behind the plastic bag, I was genuinely like, ooh, like I got a
Yeah,
I got a
that
moment
was-
of like, oh shit,
That was the best
stressed.
imagery, I think. Like the creepiest thing from the whole movie.
And she's
yeah.
asking if
Riley,
it's her cat.
you read my mind.
So many
The
phallic weapons.
the phallic stabbing scene with the moaning of the murder victim kind of sounding almost sexual. I was like, oh, there that is. That was bound to come up at some point, but yep, there
You
it
gotta
is.
have one of those.
I know that's what I think every time I'm using a knife. Like, damn, I wish this was a dick. Like, you know. But yeah, there was definitely Jason was sitting on the couch. He's like, is someone dying or having sex? And I'm like, oh,
Both.
both.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Did he watch it with you?
No, he was he's not as interested in that sort of stuff as me, so he'll watch the newer ones. but he kind of tunes out if a movie is like clearly made before 1990 or something, which I don't necessarily blame him for.
Yeah, it's hard. You have to
I
like
had to like
make
hold
yourself.
him down to make him watch The Princess Bride, but now he loved it. So,
It's a good one.
you know,
That's definitely one
yeah.
that's worth paying attention to. But yeah, that's one of the when I first started this and I saw that like when they did that double shot, the nice one and then one from the POV of the killer that was literally the same shot twice. I was like, oh, this is gonna be tough. Like I'm not gonna be able to do this. But luckily it was
Yeah.
nice. But that's one of the reasons is because they didn't really have that established like
Right. Like when I'm noticing camera work, you're bordering on distracting because I don't know anything about most of that stuff. I can see when something looks interesting, but yeah, it at the beginning and when it's someone walking and carrying a camera, I'm like, please stop doing that. But I'm sure at the time it was like neat.
Yeah, and it was what I saw was they had like made this special rig for the cameraman to wear so they could get his POV shots and like you could see his hands as he's crawling up. So like it was this
Yeah.
very like cutting edge rig that they were making for
Oh, I
this.
bet that shit was so heavy.
Probably,
Like
yeah.
that poor guy.
And yeah, and now I'm like, okay, GoPro shot on the head, not impressive. No, I'm just kidding.
Bring me a drone with a camera on it. Yeah. So, what you think of those search party guys randomly showing up? That scene was like really confusing to me.
Yeah, the way that
I
the girls like ended with just being like LOL and then locking their door, I was
Yeah.
like, it seemed like you were about to get murdered, but
Yeah,
you're just
and
laughing.
they were so odd, the search party, and one of them was just carrying a rifle,
Yeah, and
which is terrifying to me. Like if someone showed up at my door, I'd be like, "Oh my god."
they weren't at the door. They came up to the window, right? While she's like doing dishes or something, and he's like,
It
"Don't,
was like
don't,
a
don't."
kitchen side that yeah, they knocked on the window and then went to like the kitchen side door and I'm like and they didn't even deliver a valuable message. They mostly were like, "We're out here doing a search party for the dead girl." You know?
It really was that, and they
Thank
were like,
you.
"Yeah, okay," and they yeah, and the scene like lingers.
This is a Wendy's.
Like, sir, yeah, we're a sorority. We know about the dead girl.
Do they work for Billy? Were they a distraction? I mean, obviously they weren't, but the scene didn't really make any sense to me. Maybe there was something behind it that I didn't catch, but
Yeah, that felt very out of place. And that's another thing is there's a lot of stuff that I was like, huh? And I think it goes back to there not being that like set, like rigid, formulaic kind of movie thing that we have now.
yeah.
And I mean, it existed back then, but they were doing like new stuff. And now even when you do new stuff, there is stuff that you stick to. But all in all, like this was so different in how it told the story and how it was like all over the place with
Yeah.
following the
Some of the
characters and like the way that the pacing and the progression of the different storylines. I was very like, this is unusual, but it like kept me interested in it because it's so different than how I'm used to it. I'm like, you wouldn't see a movie do this today, but I almost like it because of that.
Yeah. Some of it was confusing, like the jumps to the boyfriends who we barely knew and their like life events. I was like, okay, now which dude is this? Who does he belong to? And like one of them played basketball. I get the Peter one because he was the implied killer, so like I could easily track him. But the other guys, I was
short-haired
like,
guy,
okay,
yeah.
I already forget who you are or what your deal is,
Yeah.
which girl you're supposedly dating. They talked about Phil's boyfriend, and I'm like we had met him earlier in the movie, and I could not, for the life of me, remember which dude he was. If he was
Yeah,
the
I
one
only
who
remember two of
stormed
them.
into the police office to be like, "Why aren't you investigating this?" I don't remember.
No, I think that was
But
Claire's boyfriend.
right, okay. See, yeah, there was
Yeah.
some other guy. Our dog died last.
Our dog died last
Such
night.
a weird throwaway line. Like, sorry, I'm so sorry. That's the whole thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gonna have to throw that out there the next time like the Baptists come by to invite us to a revival. Our dog died last night. I just,
Our dog died last night. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was so. I was like, okay. There was a lot of moments like that where I was like, I've surely missed something, but I don't think I actually did. I think it's
I
just.
really
kind of
just want to
fucking
like
weird.
time travel back to the 1970s and see if social interactions were like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
The
if
when the,
writers
when
are just-
the when Claire or no, it was Jess interacted with the carolers and just casually, did you hear a girl was murdered or something? Like, not something I'd say to a stranger after they're gathering the children. Did you hear about that child murder? You
Yeah,
know?
that was so
Yeah.
weird. She like the church leader, whoever was in charge of the kids, comes up and she's like, "Get in the car, go, go! Didn't you hear someone was killed?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was like fucking 30 minutes ago in the movie. Why are you are
Yeah,
you've
you don't
just
have a
heard
cell
about
phone.
this?"
It's 1974. How do you know what happened?
And
You
also,
know?
like, you're just out and about, and you obviously walk these people up to the. I mean, within like the what 2 minutes that these people were caroling at this door, you found out this information. Like,
Right. And
okay,
then
I guess.
sped over there in your big van to come scoop up the kiddos.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. It was. There was a lot that I was like, oh, well, okay, and it really doesn't add anything to the tension or the
strange choice, but a strong choice. You know, you really did that.
yeah. What do you think about Billy and how they left the character ambiguous?
So that part I did kind of like, because I do feel like when you reveal a slasher killer, particularly, I always find their motivations to be sort of like, I wish I didn't know that because it seems hollow and stupid.
Mm.
Not that there's ever a good motive for, killing somebody, but I'm certain if they had revealed this killer, it would just be like, this guy's crazy. He's
Yeah.
crazy. That's why he did that, because he's crazy.
He would have been
So
like
that wouldn't have
escaped
been
from
fun.
an asylum or something, like
Right. Or,
sneak into this house. Yeah,
a sexual deviant, but not in the way that, just in this.
he's gay.
Right. He's struggling with this. That's why he killed women. He has mommy issues, etc. Like it wouldn't have been
Yeah.
that fun. But yeah, I like that we didn't see him. If it hadn't been a movie from 1974, though, I think I would have felt like, oh, this is a cheap setup for a sequel, which always like chaps my ass a little bit at the end of movies because I like closure. I'm like, this can just be one film. It does not have to be a 6-film series of continuously escalating bullshit. So,
And
but yeah, I
basically
liked
the same thing.
I liked the ending because I had already seen it, but Peter being the killer would have been too easy. That would have been boring. So
Yeah, and I like that it wasn't him, and they kind of like. I mean, I didn't think it was him ever, but I liked that they wanted you to.
right.
I thought that was fun.
The cops sold it really hard. Like, oh, obviously it's this guy.
Which is the viewer that I'm like, okay, so it's definitely not him because all these cops
Right.
are clearly idiots.
I used to do that in Law and Order episodes. I'm like, we're 5 minutes in. This guy can't possibly be.
Yeah. The old
Oh.
Scooby-Doo trick.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked that too. I mean, I liked that it was ambiguous, and I think that's a lot of the reason why I liked the movie and the characters and stuff is because we are focusing on them and not following the killer as much. Like we're as in the dark as they are, and the things that they're struggling
Right.
with and the things that they're doing are what we're seeing, not him following them around and just picking them off. And I thought that was interesting because it would be more scary to be like, I'm just trying to go about my life and everyone around me is fucking dying. And
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it or why or what's happening or who it is. And we obviously did know he was up there in the attic and all that stuff. But beyond that, like, I don't know. I liked the way that it was so different.
Yeah. And for me, that makes a slasher work better, like keeping the killer separate, Do you think he got into the house during the party?
Well, I don't know, because it showed him climbing up the wall. I see that was another thing where they're like, who left the door open? And then they cut to him climbing up the wall outside. And so I was like, okay, so they've immediately killed that setup. Why? Why did they set up the door being open and this guy being in the house and then cut to him outside so we know he's not actually... There were times... The beginning of the movie,
Chekhov's
I was like...
gun.
This,
You know?
literally, I was like, okay, anything goes, apparently. But yeah, I think that he climbed into the attic from the outside. I love that he was up there and that the girl in the rocking chair was up there the whole time as all these
Yep, just
people and
hanging
cops
out.
are in and out and she's just right by the window.
Yeah. That hook hanging out in the attic was unfortunate for
For Miss Mac. Oh my god.
poor
that
Miss
was-
Mac.
that was
What a
such
kill.
good kill. She gets like sucked up through the attic. I was
Ka-ching!
like,
Yeah.
yes.
So bizarre.
she was
Like,
my
what a good
favorite.
shot. Once in a lifetime opportunity. If he had missed that, that would have been unfortunate.
Yeah.
But what kind of purpose would that hook serve in a house? What was that for?
I have no idea. I feel like I see those all the time in movies. That's like
I think there was one
all
in
the ropes
Malignant,
in the
like
yeah.
definitely in the old Victorian house. There was definitely like one of these hooks. I'm like, this is our guest murderer. We
Yeah.
use it when we, want to murder
We
guests,
got this big
like
hook to swing around at
lifting a
folks.
piano or something.
Yeah, I
But
don't know what they're doing with those
yeah,
hooks. I
yeah.
expected it to like hit her in the head and knock her off the stairs. I didn't expect it to like wrap around her and suck her up the ladder.
Right.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
We're in
amazing.
it now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well,
I
I
am
hope
worried about the
Claude's
cat.
okay.
We've-
Such a bad person. I'm just like,
Me
surely
too.
he didn't kill the animal.
No.
He would never,
Yeah,
you
when they
know.
started showing the cat like licking the plastic with the dead girl, I was like, oh, they're gonna have the cat eat the girl, but they didn't, luckily.
Yeah, that's nasty, but it happens. So,
And you can't blame them, you know.
yeah, they're hungry. It's time for breakfast. Whatever.
It's for breakfast and it's your face. Oh, also, I also have this in my notes, and I don't know if I said this, but during that scene where Claire dies, the first murder, where the guy's in the closet behind the plastic dress bag, she's going over there and she's like, Claude, is that you? Like, is that the cat? Oh, is he suddenly 6'2"? That
Right.
was so weird to me. She's like, kitty cat, here, kitty cat. Is that you? And she says it like 4 times because they cut, back and forth to her, like all these
Yeah,
shots
I
of
just
her
kept
saying
thinking,
it.
like, the cat can't talk.
Yeah.
Even if it was him, he's not going to say anything. But also, I feel like cat owners are primed to get murdered because so many strange things in houses are just dismissed as like,
Oh,
it's the
gotta be the
cat.
cat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
me
cat knocks that
constantly.
over or whatever because, you're just going to let the person step on things or knock things over and get all the way up to your bedroom because you think it's your cat, but then
Yeah.
it's not.
That's very true. Yeah,
Yeah.
Binks is really priming me to not notice some alarming sound. Excuse me.
My cat routinely transforms into a 6 foot tall man who can speak. That is definitely the plot of at least 6 different like webtoons, I'm sure.
You've been reading those?
I get those ads. I text them to
Oh
you every
my
time I get one.
God. Oh my God. Those yeah. Those are
I'm the bottom?
disturbing. No, no, no,
Yep.
no.
Yeah, webtoons are funny. It might be a different site because I don't know if webtoons is allowed to be explicit, but I get a lot of weird comic ads.
Yeah, I've noticed you do.
Well,
Yeah.
it's because I click them every time so that I can screenshot them and send them to people and ruin their afternoon. And then they're like, let's give this lady more of these.
Clearly she loves it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a good marketing scheme. I mean, who knows? Maybe out of the people you've sent it to as a joke, some of those people are actually into it.
Yeah.
And
Maybe
they're
there's
like,
Black Christmas fan fiction. We should look.
Okay,
That
yeah.
would be- yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I think you're
like
going to
right-
have to do it because my shit's all... If I click
I'm
out
in-
of the Zoom window,
I meant in our
live
spare
stream-
time, but yeah, let's see if let's just see.
Okay.
So now that I think about it, the title is kind of like a throwaway title. It's not like profound or significant. Like it's Black Christmas.
Well, it was originally called Silent Night, Evil Night, and then they changed the
Ooh,
name
I like that
to
better.
Black Christmas. Yeah, I like that better too. Because Black Christmas, it's like, get a little more creative there. There really isn't. What's the significance of... Yeah, it's
like, oh, it's Christmas time and people died. Black Christmas. Yeah.
seems
But
a
again,
little
at the time, it's
racist.
like 40 years ago. New stuff,
Very
probably
true.
was better at the time. Whatever.
Yeah. It
Black
was one of the
Christmas
originals.
fan fiction. Yep, there are. There are 159 Black Christmas works on Archive of Our Own, which is a very famous fan fiction site. So.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
probably a lot of those college girls dating each other, guarantee.
Oh my God, no! The first one that comes up shows the pairings as Leatherface and Billy, which is the romantic pairing. So I'm not going to wade into any of this, but it's out there. If you can conceive of it, it's
From
out there.
Toronto to Texas. They've made it
Oh.
work. They've come together somehow.
Yep. Oh,
That's hilarious.
gross. Yeah.
And it exists. I think that pretty much covers all of my notes, except for I have one more. Well, I have
Ooh.
just the note that says feminism, but I think we already kind of talked about that. But the other one is outfits slap. And I
Oh,
stand
yeah.
by that. So many baller fucking
Agreed.
outfits in this house. Like, oh, I want that. How can I get that? Where can I get
Oh
that?
yeah. 70s sweater game was like top tier. I want
Yeah.
every sweater produced in the 1970s. A lot of the 1980s too. Very strong sweater game. I would read all of that.
The sweaters were
Um
great.
yeah.
And so many
And
like full fits. Like even the extras, like whenever we cut to after the first night when Claire dies and we cut to her dad like looking for her at the college, he's like standing at the college like entryway and there's all these college students walking behind him. So many of the extras had like the coolest
yeah.
fucking outfits I've ever seen, and I was like,
And I'm sure
oh
it's
my
just their
god.
clothes.
Yeah,
Like, you
because
know,
it's such a low budget movie and stuff. I bet it's just they just
mustard
had
yellow
people.
does not get like enough love in fashion nowadays. It's a great color. It
It's
looks
my
really
favorite.
good on a lot of people. It should be worked into more clothes, I think. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Did you see my picture I posted of me holding Binks? I got a mustard yellow sweater that I'm obsessed
Oh
with.
yeah, that's right. That is yellow.
I'm gonna try to
The good kind of yellow.
find it. Yeah, there is some ugly yellows. I used to really not like yellow, and then now I'm like, okay, I vibe. Stream, just in case you're wondering. That's
Yeah, that's actually very like 1970s kind of outfit. The mullet helps.
it. It
You
does.
know.
It really does.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, are there any
Well,
final thoughts you have on Black Christmas?
all right. Let's be those content people. Give it a 1 through 10. 10, of course, being like the best horror movie you've ever seen. 1 being like the Human Centipede number 3.
I think I'm gonna give it like a 7.
Samesies. That was what I was gonna go with. The
Double
7.
sevens.
Yeah.
Chat, if you give it a 7, it wins the jackpot. Triple sevens. Chat, what do you say? What's your rating? Yeah, I think a 7 is a solid, like, it's good. It's definitely above average, and
Yeah.
it did a lot. It's not the most amazing, and there's not a lot of horror movies that I think make it above a 5 in my book. So, and
Oh
I
yeah.
love horror as a genre, so that's not
Lot.
me just being, like, bitchy. Like, I
A
think,
lot of averagey stuff going on, middling stuff going on, because
yeah.
people think they don't have to make an effort, but you do. So yeah, I liked it. Not my favorite movie in the whole wide world, but I appreciate a lot about it and totally see why it's being revisited now, as because it didn't get its due when it first came out. Because
That's true. Yeah, we kind of touch on that like before.
not really.
Yeah, when it came out, people didn't really care, but now it's like a cult classic. Like it's now
Right.
people are like, "Oh, this is a very big deal."
So do you have a favorite Christmas horror movie that
Oh.
you would recommend after having told everybody to watch Black Christmas, which we hope you like marginally enjoyed at least. You have to see it. You kind of
Yeah.
have to see it.
Yeah, and thank you for watching it with us and talking about it
Absolutely.
with us. I really like Krampus. It's
Yes.
so stupid, but
So fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
supposed to be, you know.
And again, I like zany stuff. I think horror and comedy mix really well, so I tend to be really biased towards stuff that uses that dynamic. Because
Totally.
like laughing and screaming are kind of like your brain's responses to some of the same impulses, like yeah, So it works really well together.
Yeah.
Um,
What about you?
I told our horror struck pals this because they tweeted a little while ago about like give us a gif of your favorite horror movie, and it's called A Christmas Story. It's an anthology with 4 short horror stories in it, and Santa is fighting Krampus with like crazy chains and weapons as the
Cool.
wraparound story. So it's like
When did
yeah,
this
it's
come
pretty
out?
neat. I want to say like 2009ish, 2010ish. It
shit.
was on Netflix when I saw it, but now I think it's on Amazon Prime. So it's one of those movies that I don't think was ever in theaters. I don't think it got like a lot of attention, but I just happened to watch it one year and really enjoyed it because I like holiday horror. I don't like
Cool.
Thanksgiving horror. Every time somebody tries to do that, it doesn't
What?
work.
I don't think I've seen
they're-
it.
Okay,
What
well,
is
there's Thanksgiving, which
Oh,
is like
okay.
the
I feel like I've
classic.
heard of that.
But yeah, there was a weird one on Hulu. There's a few. They don't
Yeah.
really work.
Because who gives a fuck? I mean, all that's really to that holiday is eating. So how can you really
And
spin that?
colonialism. So
Yeah, very true. Yeah, in a
Yeah.
real way, there's that. So it's like here's
there's
the
enough
horror
horror
of it.
there. Right. So
Thomas Trans says the 1970s brought to you by the colors yellow, green, and brown. I love that.
oh, so true.
Yeah, and like
Yes.
orange, like those lines that kind of go across everything and curve, like the very stereotypical 70s lines. I feel like that's how you know the time period.
Yeah. Very earth tone decade. she said, having never been alive during it. So, know all about that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm an expert on the 70s.
Right.
Well, shit. Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
And
this was fun.
yeah, we'll definitely. Hello, welcome to Real Horror and the revival of the channel.
Yes,
Do you have Hubie?
2022.
Are you bringing
I do.
Hubie?
I was gonna say hello. Oh, Merry
Oh my God! Look at
Christmas!
his little. Has he got a bandana on?
He does. He
What a
got a
fancy
bandana at the
man.
groomer. Yeah.
Oh,
Can you say hello?
he's like, what the fuck is going on? He's
He was
sleeping.
asleep. He was asleep. Yeah.
He
I'm
looks so
mean. I'm a
nice.
mean mother.
Oh, everyone
Um,
loves him.
no. He's a good boy. Now he's gonna Okay, I'll put you down.
Lovely.
There you go. Pet cameo.
My nephew Hubie.
Yes, Uncle Riley.
Sweet.
Yep.
Pet cameo. True. That's what I do in my Twitch streams. Oh my God. Nailed it. All right, fam. Well, this has been absolutely lovely. Thank you for hanging out. We're going to wrap it up here. It's been wonderful. We're going to have some more content on Real Horror. So stick around, check it out.
Yep.
And thank you for giving us a lovely little break from being sick to come talk about a spooky,
Yeah.
silly
Everybody
movie.
have a lovely, healthy, safe holiday. We will see you
Absolutely.
in 2022.
That's right. Bye, guys.